Hi everyone and welcome to Studio de Sol, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I made this polymer clay and seed beads earrings. So let's get started. And here are all the materials I'm going to be using in today's video. It's going to be 4 different colors of polymer clay. I'm going to be making a Skinner blend using pink, yellow, and this purplish blue color, and adding on white in between. And also seed beads in the same kind of color scheme with pink, yellow, and blue. And I'm starting by creating a Skinner blend, which is just a mix of colors. And I am slicing already warmed up clay into triangles. My Skinner blend is gonna start with yellow color, then in the middle I'm gonna have pink, and on the opposite side is gonna be blue. And as you can see here, I'm shaping all 3 triangles so they kind of fit each other. And I'm also adding some of the scraps that I am cutting out on top of already sliced shape. It's just to have a little bit more volume of clay, because if I use just one layer, it might be not enough. Then after that, I'm shaping the white color into kind of like a stripe shape and adding on in between pink and yellow and pink and blue. In my experience, I noticed that white clay in between the colors help the blend and help to mix the colors a little bit more gradually, because it's not mixing straight pink and yellow, for example, but having white in the middle, it's gonna help the color to be a little bit more saturated. And after that, I'm just making sure that it's somewhat even, cutting out like extra pieces of clay and start rolling it. I'm flattening the clay enough so it can be folded in half. And here I still using the rolling pin, but in a few seconds I'm going to be transferring it to the pasta machine and just folding it in half and keep running into the through the pasta machine. I start running through the pasta machine, and because my machine is a little bit broken, one side is being flattened a little bit more than the other. I am running my piece twice through it, just on a different sides, but then at the end I'm still folding this in half and running it again. If you have a good working pasta machine, technically after one fold you just run through the pasta machine, fold it again, and keep doing that until the colors are mixed. At some point clay is being stretched too much, so what I'm doing, I'm folding this into this kind of like narrow piece and try to push it back together to make sure that it's all fitting into the pasta machine properly. And this is kind of an extra step I sometimes do to mix the colors even more. I fold this into this kind of stripe shape and running it on the lowest thickness on a pasta machine, making into that long ribbon. And after that, I start folding this ribbon in an accordion style fold. So I'm flipping the clay back and forth, up and down. After I'm folding, I slightly push all the colors together. And again running it through the pasta machine sideways. And as you can see here, after the first run through the pasta machine, we already have more of those like stripes of colors, so like of different tones, and I'm just gonna keep blending those. And when I'm happy how the colors are blended, I stop running it through the pasta machine. And usually after so many folds, and because you always fold in that in the same direction, it's hard to avoid air bubbles. So what I do, I just take a knife and pop the bubbles. And after this, I start the process of kind of shrinking this piece of clay sidewise, because I want it to be super short, so yellow to that blue is like very close to each other. So I'm stretching the colors sideways by just gently pressing and stretching and pressing, and continue that until I'm happy with the size of this clay. And also, as you can notice along the way, I do have some air bubbles popping up, so I'm again just popping them with the knife. And when I stretched the clay, I'm running it already like sideways, like along the lines I'm making through the pasta machine, just to make this blend and colors kind of like fresh again. And then when I'm happy with the size of it and the colors, I just measure if my cutter is fitting all the colors that I want to include. And again, just like running through the pasta machine, I think I did like level 3 or 2. It's pretty thick, so that's what I'm trying to say. And I'm just cutting out the shapes. Here at first I was thinking just to do 2, but just in case I decided to have 2 extra, just in case something goes wrong. And then I'm just removing them from the surface and adding on to the tray and baking. These pieces are pretty small, so I think I baked them for like 40 minutes. And for my clay, the temperature is 275 Fahrenheit, but as usual, I do recommend to check the temperatures on the package of your clay. And after the baking is done, I let the pieces cool in the oven, and after they completely cooled off, I'm sanding the edges. And here starts the part that I didn't like at all. You might notice later why. But what I'm doing first, I'm marking with the pen where the holes are gonna be, and then using the needle, I am poking through those marks. I also could definitely use some smallest drill that I have, and I tried it actually. I tested on the other 2 pieces, but the holes were kind of too big and too noticeable, so I didn't like it, so that's why I'm using just a needle. You can also use an awl if you have one, but like the one that is pretty thin, not too thick, because when it's too thick it might rip the clay in a bad way. And after I'm done poking the holes, I'm removing the marks that I did earlier using the acetone. And here comes the most challenging part for me, as I don't usually work with beads, and after projects like that I know exactly why I don't work with beads. But anyway, I'm using this smallest needle. It's I think it's made specifically for the seed beads project because it's super narrow on both sides, so it goes through the beads easily. And as you can see here in the beginning, I'm still using this fish wire thread. It's very thin, and I was hoping that it's gonna give me exactly what I need, like the results of the beads being so, kind of flowing and being fluid. But spoiler alert, I made one earring, I didn't like how it looks, and did the second one using just the regular like threads, and they have like golden finish to it. In here I just wanted to show you kind of like in comparison how the first one came out when I was using that fish wire thread, and then the regular one. You can see how the regular threads, the beads are just kind of like more smooth and flowy, where this fish wire, they all were kind of like stiff and almost like didn't move, so I didn't like the effect, so I had to deassemble the whole thing and start all over. And just a little side note, by this point I already lost some of my neural cells because having long nails and using those like super small needles and super small beads were definitely very challenging. Here I want to explain how I was fixing the beads to the polymer clay piece. Again, I should have maybe checked more tutorials online and see how it's done properly, but I was doing everything based on my intuition and how I thought stuff should, work. So just explaining my process, it might be not the best one. So to fix the thread on its spot, I'm going through the very first hole on the side twice. So I'm kind of looping the thread, and then I was just doing the double knot on the back of it, and then just cutting off the excess of that thread. Then I started picking on the beads. I started with the blue color. I'm going with 9 beads. After that, I'm doing the kind of like a transfer of the color. 2 pink, 2 purple, 1 pink, 1 purple, then 9 pink beads again, then to transfer to yellow again, 2 yellow, 2 pink, 1 yellow, 1 pink, and 9 yellow. In total, I have 11 rows for each earring. First 2 on the left and on the right have 9 beads of the colors, so 9 blue, 9 pink, 9 yellow, and those transfer colors in between. Then as we're going inwards, each row has 2 more beads, and then the very middle one has 17 beads of each color plus the transfer colors. And when I collected the last of the yellow beads, this is how I'm going up again. So I'm going through the last yellow bead, then looping by going up, but going to the bead right on top of the very last one. So it's gonna create that little loop on the very last bead that we have on the edge. I also try to include a little bit of like my sketch. So you see the arrow down, that's the needle going down, then it goes out and going on a 1 bead on top of the very last one, and going all the way up back to the polymer clay base. As I bring the needle up right at the top, I loop it around the base thread, then pass it into the clay base from the back, and start the entire process all over, picking up the beads all the way down, looping at the very end, and going up. And the same process for all 11 rows. And whenever I was out of thread, I would just make a knot on the back side of the polymer clay base, already like next to existing loops of threads. So I would just like go 1 or 2 strings of threads that are already there, loop around and just make a knot or 2 and cut off the excess. And after I lost all the hope that I ever finished this project, I actually finished it. And now I'm just adding on the studs on the back. I'm using the craft knife to kind of like carve a little bit of the clay so the glue can penetrate the surface a little bit, deeper. Adding the glue and adding the studs and leaving it for at least 12 hours to cure. And here's my final result. Leave me a comment below if you like this tutorial or if you also hate working with seed beads. See you guys in the next video.